All right, guys, so finally here. I feel like I haven't done one of these Q&A videos in a very, very long time, but finally I've gotten around to it. So this was supposed to be a Facebook kind of upload, but it looks like it's going to be I don't know what I'm going to do, probably upload it to YouTube and then, get a link across to Discord and that's how I'll get it to you guys. So not 100% sure how that's going to work. I don't think Discord can actually have, uploads, videos, to that platform, but this is for all you guys that are on Patreon and who are supporting me that extra step further. I really wanted to do something for you guys, so it's been on my mind for quite some time, and I think this is a step in the right direction. So hopefully I can make these, I don't want to be too crazy about it, but I feel like I could do one of these every week, depending on the schedule, obviously, and everything. And this probably ties in with the question that Jake here asked me, how I'll balance everything, but hopefully I can do it once a week. That's the plan for now. So anyway, let's get into Jake. Let's get into the first question. Jake Creteau, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. How do you balance gym and family time? Your work and sleep schedule, I imagine, can make it hard to spend time with your family and prioritize fitness goals. You seem to do it so well. How is that? Man, Jake, I've been a nurse now for, this is my 11th year, 12th year. It was a big shock when I first started nursing. At that time I was still playing basketball, and that was a big shock. Because shift work is tough, man. Like if you've never done shift work, you're not missing out, basically. So I've kind of been pretty good with time management ever since I kind of became a nurse. You just have to be flexible and you have to plan the day. So tonight when I go to bed, I'll know exactly what's happening tomorrow, and I'll pick my spots where I can do things. Not to say that I never spend time with my family or I don't do anything else. It's very, very structured and it's very, very particular. So each day I go to bed and I kind of have a plan in my head what I'm doing tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow I've got work. Okay, so that means I got to be there at 7. So I'm going to make some time in the morning to do this. Purely so then when I come back from work at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the afternoon or in the evening, it's uninterrupted time with the family. Whereas if I was to sleep all the way, let's say to 6 o'clock, get up, go to work, start at 7, come back home from work at 7:30, train, I'll probably be in bed at 10 o'clock. So it's like the whole day I haven't seen my kids and my wife, and I can't handle that. So a lot of these situations get resolved with less sleep, and that's not good, but I try and make up the sleep on days off. So on days off, I try to sleep in. It's kind of hard with kids because you're school run and whatever, but between myself and my wife, we kind of try and work out, tag team the situation as best we can. So if she's really tired, then I'll do it, and so on and so forth. This would be a lot harder if it was just me on my own, living by myself and working and having kids, right? Obviously, that would be extremely difficult as a single parent. But, I've got a very, very supportive wife. She's as much as part as this that I'm doing as I am, really. She's kind of in the background. I've been trying to get her on the screen and training with me, but she's a bit hesitant. But yeah, she's a big part of it, really. She does a lot of background stuff, especially with the kids, school runs, this, that, the other, allowing me to do what I do. So it would be silly for me to say here, oh, it's time management. You need a lot of things around you to go your way, and having a partner in your life that's actually understanding and wants you to succeed in the things that you care about is a freaking big step in the right direction. So it's always, let's say, a titration. It's a medical term. You're always titrating certain things. It's tough. It's tough, but you're always kind of titrating. Okay, today's session is going to be a rushed one because of this, and then you kind of make it up, kind of like sleep, kind of like everything. It's tough for people not to have a fixed routine. But ever since I've become an adult, I've never had a freaking routine. And this whole squat every day fits in with me because there's no routine. There's no fixed formula. It's completely auto-regulated. Everything in my life is auto-regulated because of shift work. No week is the same, ever. It's just a random roster. I was doing 8-hour shifts in the past. Now I'm doing 12 hours purely just to get my days off. So usually you do, 3 or 4 12-hour shifts a week. Now I do 2 or 3 12-hour shifts a week. Now I'm kind of doing more 2 12-hour shifts because I'm kind of cramming all of that in, and I've taken one day off because of this YouTube thing. I'm getting some revenue from doing these videos now. One of you guys asked me, can you live off YouTube? I don't know what other creators do with 100,000 subscribers, but there's no way you can survive on anyway, at least my channel. I know I don't monetize my channel all that much, simply because I can't stand having 100 freaking ads in a video. I mean, that to me is revolting, and I can't myself view videos like that, so I'm not gonna make my videos like that. Kind of hurts me in the revenue department, but I don't hate being a nurse. I actually enjoy the people that I work with and some patients that I treat. But I'm blessed enough to have at least one day off per week of nursing to do this. So it's kind of like that. I mean, 12 hours are tough, don't get me wrong, especially night shifts and whatever, but it's better than 3 days work of 8 hours. So it's just a auto regulation, basically. That's how I do it. Winston Lamb says he's got 3 questions. How do you deal with knee pain? Dealing with some right now. Man, I have never had knee pain. The only time I had knee pain was back in the day. I was like 15 or 16 years old. I had a flare up. Actually, it was on the right side. That kind of makes sense. I had a TFL, let's say, tightness, which radiated into my ITB, iliotibial band, and that had kind of manifested itself as a lateral knee pain. Struggled with that for a little bit. I had like a knee brace, like a knee sleeve, really, not a knee brace. And it wasn't until I went to a local, the club's own masseuse, and he basically made me cry. Like tears running down my face, how hard this man was sticking his elbow right into the TFL, into the glute med minimus, smashed through one treatment. I never had freaking knee pain ever again. So knee pain it's kind of like chest pain. Like if I think about it from like a medical point of view, it could be anything. It could be the lungs, it could be, obviously the heart, it could be muscle, it could be your stomach, right? Epigastric pain radiating into the chest. It could be heartburn, it could be so many different things. So you kind of have to work out is it the knee pain or is it referred pain from a trouble upstream or maybe even downstream? So if you can work out what's causing the knee pain or what kind of movements aggravate the knee pain, that kind of is the first step, and then you can maybe plan going forward. You guys know how I kind of approach these things. I believe in blood. So if something hurts, drop the weight to basically nothing and do sets of 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 if you have to. And rotate the exercises until you find something that works, and then you kind of study that exercise. Why does that exercise work? Why is it relieving my knee pain? Is it the hamstring? Is it the glute? And that's kind of how you get around to it. How do you deal with failure and grief in terms of losing someone important in your life? Family, friend, or life partner? So that is an individual thing, man. Like, we're all different people with different personalities, introverts, extroverts, life experience. My life is, let's say, a bit different to maybe the people in the bell curve, right? I grew up in war, for the first 10 years of my life. And then at 20, became a nurse in emergency. Grief in the first 10 years of my life and grief in the last 12 years of my life. Seeing death, seeing suffering, seeing cancer, seeing, car accident victims, disabilities, all this sort of stuff. I'm constantly reminded. I've lost some loved ones around me, and it hurts. It's not that I'm immune because of my history and because of where I've kind of grown up, but I just have maybe a different perspective because I've seen a lot of people around me suffer. I've seen a lot of people around me go through tough times. And so that doesn't, I'm not saying that to kind of belittle my existence, my experience, but it does, operate as a context. It gives me context to what life is actually really about. Because I think a lot of people that are not in the situations like healthcare, maybe a lot of people forget that this is not forever. Life is very much finite. There will be a day where we all die. And we don't pick what day we die. But if you have that kind of in your mind and in your kind of general psyche of how you think about things on a daily basis, then I feel like it helps you to deal with the loss, especially when somebody passes away. In terms of dealing with loss, let's say of a partner, like a divorce or a breakup, that's tough. You know, it's tough when you lose somebody that you love. You just kind of have to allow yourself time to grieve. You know, grieving is the stages of it. I mean, going back into my nursing kind of education, but there's steps of grieving, and you kind of have to allow that. You know, don't turn to substance abuse. Man up, be sad. You know, this is one thing that I always tell people all the time. It's okay to be sad, man. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to be angry. Don't feel guilty for feeling sad. I feel sad. You know, there's many times in my life that I've been sad. You know, even recently I'm sad. Like, you know, I experience certain things that makes me sad. But that doesn't mean I quickly run over to a doctor and get prescribed antidepressants. You know, it's okay to be sad. Obviously, if it drags on for months on end and it's unexplained and sort of reasonable kind of duration for sadness, then you can kind of look into psychology, psychiatry, and whatever, all that. But it's okay to be sad. Just don't rush it. Don't rush it. I mean, you know, in my own family, man, we've lost some people, and you know, it also depends on what you believe in, like in terms of, you know, what's after this, what's after life. Have you really lost them, or are they kind of just waiting for you? So it depends. You know, there's a lot of philosophy there, a lot of, you know, religion there, I suppose. You know, the big questions, but all of that kind of manifested themselves into your daily thoughts. You know, what's your base, man? Like, you know, who are you? You know what I mean? And I think this is where religion is really great. This is where spirituality is really great. It helps you with some of these big, heavy topics. Where do I get some dope NBA jerseys? You got so many. Man, the story about the NBA jerseys, I only had about, I want to say 15 or so myself. And I was going to chuck them out. In fact, I was going to sell them on Facebook Marketplace. I reckon I was like, I don't even know what day of the squad every day. I was like maybe 300 or something, 400. And it just occurred to me one day, like this, you know, literally not getting worn at all. I haven't worn one for years before that. And it's okay to wear these NBA jerseys as when you're playing basketball and as a kid. But I just kind of felt, I don't know, where am I going to wear this jersey in public? Like, I'm a father now, I'm more mature, kind of, I don't know. That's kind of how I thought back in the day. And then with this YouTube, I thought, wow, I don't know why it never occurred to me. I was like, why don't I just start wearing them for these videos? Instead of wearing these damn freaking plain tops, why don't I just wear the stuff I used to care so much about in my childhood? And that's kind of when I started. And my two best buddies, you know, they were like, who have my jersey as well. They're also kind of similar age. And so then I got 10 from one, 10 from another. And all of a sudden it jumped to like almost 30, 35. And then I literally went on Marketplace and I looked for other 30 or so year olds who were kind of over it and started a family, kind of exactly what my thoughts were. And I found a whole bunch, man. I remember one guy sold me 30 jerseys for like $400, man. And so I bought them secondhand, used. I don't care. You know, I really don't care at all. So when I met that guy, when I finally went to his house and I bought it off him from on Marketplace, he basically said the same thing. He's like, I'm going to wear these things. Also an NBA fan or whatever. And so basically I look for deals. $180 for an NBA jersey, Australian. I ain't spending that much money, man. Like back in the day, my parents bought all the jerseys. This is the funniest thing. When I was a kid, my parents bought all those jerseys for me, 15 of them. It's like $80 a pop back in the day, right? You know, now they're 180 or whatever it is. And now as an adult with my own money, I haven't really bought one with my own money. Maybe I bought one or something like that. So it's one of those things. They're way too expensive. So Marketplace, man, that's what I would do. I mean, I haven't looked in some time now because I've got so many, but maybe one of these days I'll have a look. Michael Cole actually answered Winston for question 1. Look at the exercises from Knees Over Toes guy and do what works for you. And Knees Over Toes guy has helped a lot of people, man, with knee pain, hip pain, back pain, all that. I used to have a lot of knee pain for months on end, and basically that guy helped him, which is excellent. Next question. Felipe Carfin. I reckon, Felipe, you said to me that it's Philippe Carfin. It's not Felipe. I'm sorry, I forgot exactly what you said to me. It's been a little while now. But he asks, what is the reason in getting on your knees and pulling the bar off the ground before a set on deadlifts? Why do you do it, and where did you get the idea from? So I got the idea from a fellow Aussie. He's in Melbourne, Kevin Bowie. Fellas, look him up. Look him up. He is I want to say like an 80, 85 kilo lifter, something like that, man. He's built to deadlift, and I reckon I've seen him pull, I want to say like 340 kilos. What is that? Like 700 freaking pounds, something crazy like that. So I saw him do that, and I thought, okay, let me give that a shot. Now I've since heard him talk about it, and he says he does it to get his straps a bit better, kind of like tightened. I started doing it obviously with straps as well, and what I found was that there was a couple of reasons why I kind of stuck with it. One, yeah, he does get your straps kind of a bit of a test run, but it also gives you confidence mentally. I can, because these kneeling deadlifts, the bar is basically like your mid thigh, so it's kind of like a really high rack pull. So you kind of handle the mini kind of rack pull. It then kind of gives you confidence. I can handle this, right? Obviously, it's a lot harder when it's your freaking mid shin, but it kind of gives you that mental aspect as well. But the main reason I do it is because it helps me engage my hips. It kind of puts my glutes on the map. It makes me kind of aware of these muscles, which are the prime movers, hip extension. And so I don't know why, but it helps me pull. That's basically how I've been telling people. It's mainly a muscle on the map kind of thing. And then there's other kind of side benefits of it as well. So Kevin Bowie, check him out, man. Definitely. He's got a YouTube channel. He uploads these videos. He's a strong guy, man. Reed Champagne, do you ever consider pin squats, or would you rather just do a complete pause at the bottom? Reed, man, I've done a lot of pin squats, man. I've had a lot of success with pin squats. Some of the guys that have been on the channel for a long time would remember the pin squats is what led for me, one of the reasons what led to me hitting like 200 kilo for one back squat high bar, ATG, all that stuff that I usually do, for like 17 days in a row. And the pin squats were always done beforehand. Just flares up your CNS. It allows you to handle super maximum loads. Like I remember I did a really high pin squat one day with like 300 kilos or something like that. I can't exactly remember. Huge amount of weight, man. Like there's no way I can squat that, obviously. But just small little range of motion, and then just fires up your whole freaking core, puts your glutes on the map, your lower back. There's nothing like heavy ass weight, man, to like teach you about core. Like we can do, wheel rollouts and hanging leg raises and all this stuff, but sheer weight on your back, man. Like I remember I pulled like a trap lat freaking muscle, one of those sets, like purely because everything tenses when you do this stuff. Everything tenses. It's an unreal thing. And on the other side, of course, a complete pause at the bottom in an ATG squat has other benefits, which are completely opposite to this stuff, which is your sub-maximal weight, but a pause opens up your adductors, opens up your glutes, builds tension and strength to the core, makes you keep your chest really, really high, bracing, man. It's a bracing right on the bottom, so it's kind of opposite end of the scale when you compare it to pin squats. So I used to do that a lot as well back in the day. Now I've kind of moved away from all these ideas for reasons. Pin squats mainly because I started deadlifting a lot. And doing 300 kilo freaking pin squats and then moving on to a deadlift is just too taxing. Maybe I'll come and revisit that again, but those pin squats, that period of 17 days in a row of hitting 200 on a squat often comes back in my mind, and often think about, man, that was one successful period of my training. I was on annual leave and all of that stuff, so it was a pretty good period, but pin squats were a large part of that success. Aaron Parker, have you ever considered performing paused front squats with Olympic weightlifting shoes as an accessory movement after regular rep front squats? I remember your 200 kilos for 16 days in a row and you were performing paused high bar squats in Olympic weightlifting shoes. Yeah, so Aaron, man, like, in fact, you'll see the video today, later on. I did some pause front squats, mainly because my freaking lower back was fried and I didn't want to bounce out of the hole with a shaky back. But not with Olympic weightlifting shoes. I just did them with just my chucks. Weightlifting shoes, man, like I get it, and they would help me immensely in terms of uprightness. I just hate them for the simple fact that they're so freaking uncomfortable, and I feel like I'm wearing a concrete block. Literally, your feet are like dead. They're literally dead in that shoe. And I am a fan of minimalistic shoes. Walking around bare feet. Chucks are like malleable. You can like bend them every which way. You can freaking put them in your pocket if you want that shoe. So I'm kind of thinking about getting Vivo, Bear Vivo or something. There's a brand which does even more minimal type of shoe than Chucks. I'm kind of heading in that direction in my mind. So thinking about Olympic weightlifting shoes, I reckon they're here somewhere. I don't know, in the house. It's just crap. It just completely turns off all of your musculature in your foot. Everything gets turned off. I used to wear them all the time, and back in the day, man, when I used to play basketball, I'd squat with them, and I just found my feet atrophied. I don't know, like, if that makes sense to you guys, but I wear Chucks to work as well. 12-hour shift on my feet all day. I believe in minimalistic support of footwear, like all these intricate muscles that are in your feet, in your ankle, your Achilles, all of that gets strengthened if you just walk around bare feet. This is the opposite end. Olympic weightlifting shoes are just like cluck, cluck, cluck. It's like heels, man. Like the sole is wood. It's just so supportive. That's why I don't like it. I don't like existing in them. They would help my squats, absolutely, but so would the belt and knee sleeves and the rest of it. So I have a hard time getting excited to do this. I just don't like it. I don't like the feeling. I don't like the idea of it, but it would help. I definitely agree with you. Henrik Svensson says, how do you know when it's time to bump up the weight on the bar? Is it just feel, or do you calculate the volume it requires? Henrik, man, it is full auto regulation. Full auto regulation, most days, if not all days, come in, work up to a heavy single, and judging by the performance of that heavy single or how high I go, I call the shots from there. You know, some days I work up to 80%, some days I work up to 95%. And so depending on how I feel within my body is what I then forecast for the rest of the session. So for instance, today I worked up to 160 front squat pause. I wasn't feeling good in my body. I wasn't feeling good in my back. I'm still fatigued. And so there was no volume. There was nothing, you know, it was just basically a minimal type of session. I have calculated volume, weekly volume in the past to kind of track and project it to go forward, increase it that way. But I've since stopped doing that. And I just kind of focus on really auto-regulating it and keeping an eye on what each lift is doing and trying to progress that. So, you know, 240 for one on the deficit deadlift, 3x3 at 220. Okay, in the next few weeks, I'd like to see that maybe 230 for 3x3 or 220 for 5x5 or 5x3, something like that. I'm always kind of thinking about that. But I don't have a set goal for each session. Okay, this is what I'm hitting this session. No, it's never like that. Michael Gilbert says, why don't you wear a belt when you lift heavy? Have you ever tried a belt? I've never tried a belt, ever. I don't know how that's happened. It wasn't on purpose. Quite early on in my, let's say, gym life, I had an accident, a back injury scare, where I was doing, what do you call them, a tricep, like one of these with when you put the dumbbell in your hand, tricep extension. I was just sitting on a preacher curl doing that. Everything else was busy. And I was doing that, and somehow I put it on my shoulder, readjusted my grip, and as I was kind of putting it down this way, you can already see the twist. I had a pop in my lower back. The following 20 minutes, I was literally flat on the ground in agony, weird sensations through my legs. I thought I slipped a disc. So freaking angry. Luckily, I was all right. The next few days, I was kind of like recovered. I was well. And ever since then, I've just gone, screw bodybuilding, screw pumping arms, screw everything. I need to make sure my core is always the strongest. And so that kind of planted the seeds of me never touching any assistance for my back, for my core. I want the core to be strong. And people say to me that belts increase the ability for the core to lock in. What I say to that is, well, when you take that belt, you are weaker. So getting used to a belt sensation and embracing with a belt is different without a belt. Life is without a belt. I don't know how many times I've heard people that squat lots of weight snap their spines of picking up a shovel in the backyard because it's a different brace. And so before I think about anything else, I want to be strong in my everyday life. You know, everyday living is more important than the gym stuff. So I really want to make sure continuously that I have ingrained into my brain an anagram of this is how you move, this is how you brace. You're not getting confused because of equipment. How we squat in suits, squats, shorts, deadlifts, whatever suits, it's completely different when you're raw. And so those are kind of like some of the reasons why I don't like wearing belts. I probably never will. Maybe someday I will, just for the sake of it. But I get attracted to that whole raw feeling because I know it translates really well to everyday life. That's kind of what I think about that, I guess. Dilshad Sathar says, hey Ivan, thanks for answering our questions. Just wanted to ask about managing workouts prior to shifts. And if you are doing this, do you often choose to do a light, easier session? I find that if I work out before a shift at the hospital, I end up very tired at the end of and unable to work optimally, but leaving a workout till after sometimes means I skip because I'm CBS. Man, welcome to my life, man. Like, you know, sounds like you're dealing with the same stuff. I've been a numbskull many times before and had big sessions in the morning, and then I've like died at work from exhaustion, barely freaking walking, standing. In my recent times, I've just gone, okay, every single time I work is going to be an easy session. It's my auto-regulated freaking deload day. And that's how I treat it, man. You know, I come in, you know, recently I've been doing pull-ups and then work up to a front squat like 70%, 80%, like something really light for a single, and that's it. You know, I don't try to get wrecked, you know, to train really hard. It's also COVID, right? And I work in emergency, freaking COVID everywhere, people splattering, coughing. A lot of the time you don't even know somebody has COVID until, you know, later on down the path. So you kind of need to be careful. Smashing yourself in the gym takes the energy from the same reservoir that the immune system takes its energy. So if you tax yourself in the gym and then you go to work and you run flat, you're exposing yourself potentially to these pathogens, to getting sick. So you got to be very, very careful how you structure your workouts before work, because you don't want to be exhausted, dehydrated and all that stuff, because there's a fight out there as well. You know, your body's fighting pathogens constantly, and so it will be very, very dumb for you to do a big squat routine, go to work, have a really tough shift, and expose yourself to even more stress, you know, let's say more physical and definitely mental stress at work after lots of physical stress early on. So every time I do a shift or a night shift afterwards, I'm always like, okay, low volume, maybe I'll touch some heavy weights for a single, but low volume, metabolic stress is tough to recover from when you're at work. So that's kind of how I think about it. Joe Van Voos, can you share some of your mobility work, including stretching, and which lifts you feel increase your mobility? I've already spoken about pause squats. I think pause squats are the best thing, man. You know, I think a lot of people do like the 5-minute squat challenge where you kind of sit down, you know, maybe elevate you some heels and you kind of chill out there. I think that's okay, but what you really need is weight on your back. Weight that kind of that makes you kind of be erect, you know what I mean? Like flat back. Oftentimes when we sit in those 5-minute squat challenges, we kind of like round our back, and that's not really that specific enough to what we're trying to do. What you want to be doing is like, you know, like you have a barbell on your back. Maybe get some weightlifting Olympic shoes, or you know, if you can't do an ATG squat, have a bit of weight, maybe 60 kilos for me or something like that, and just sit there and allow the weight, you know, to have that good posture, and allow the weight to kind of sink you in and stretch those adductors and glutes. That's probably the best thing for ATG squats that I've come up with. I think the biggest muscle in all of this, it's tough to say, but I feel like the adductors are the key to squatting. A lot of people have really tight adductors, and it's always posterior chain, man. It is always posterior chain. People don't believe me, man, but if you think about it, man, like, I don't know if you guys can see me, like when you squat, right? When you squat, you need this, right? This is what we need, like hip flexion. So what's on the back? What's on the back needs to stretch. What's on the back of you needs to stretch, right? So it only makes sense to stretch the hell out of that, man. Now people say hip flexors. Well, hip flexors are getting short, man. They're really short in this position. Why the hell would you want to stretch something that's going to be short at the end of it, right? I reckon they need to be strong, right? Because the hip flexors go from like L12 T12 to L5. It's like a fan muscle, and inserts into the proximal femur, right? So when that thing shortens, you have this. So they need to be strong, but all of the back of you, right? All of this stuff needs to be long and strong. But if you're squatting a lot and deadlifting a lot, the strength part is going to be all right. So just, I'm going to say this, man. Like if you want range of motion, you got to do range of motion. Start with some light ass weight. If you're squatting 150 kilos, work with 40 kilos. Sink your ass down, man. Just spend time in that hole. There's nothing like that. I mean, I always say the best thing for squatting is squatting. Mobility. In terms of getting stronger in the squat, depends on your leverages. But I find lots of posterior work, again, helps me get stronger. So that's what, I mean, you can stretch day and night. And there's been a lot of people out there who talk about, who can do splits on whatever, who talk about PNF stretching and getting stronger at end ranges of motion, not just simply statically stretching for hours on end. Not so effective. Tom Bavon says, what's your nutrition like? Do you specifically base your meals and eat around the goal of increasing your strength lifts, prioritize protein, etc.? Cheers, mate. My the nutrition has kind of been up and down in the last 10 years, let's say. The goal is always for me to stay healthy. Like, I don't eat to be strong. My concern is health. I don't want to have triple vessel disease by the time I'm 50, right? I don't care what my deadlift and squat is. I don't want to be jeopardizing, I don't want to have carotid stenosis and freaking heart full of shit, but, really good squat. So for me, I'm always thinking about health. What's healthy? So when I hear about these strength nutrition protocols, drink like a gallon of milk a day, I'm like, damn, man, like that's great. It's going to get you strong. It's going to get you fat, big. But how healthy is that, man? So that's how I base my stuff on. This is what I always say to you guys. Like, I know we're all into strength and deadlifting, squatting, benching, all that sort of stuff, but health is the best freaking PR, in my opinion. Health. Some of you fellas are like 60, 70 years old that watch my channel. I'm like, respect, man. If you can squat at 60, damn, man. Well done. Squatting 100 kilos at 60, man. That is something to be proud of. Not blowing your freaking BMI to billions at 30 to squat whatever number you want. Like, to me, I don't get attracted to that. I know there's a lot of people out there who are crazy strong. To me, my personal goals, that is not a win. That's a fail to me. I don't want to be jeopardizing my health to be strong. To me, that does not make sense. It's like taking 2 steps back and forward and 3 back. Health is always number one. In terms of what I do for nutrition, it's a balanced diet. I don't even know what that means, but I try to eat all the food groups. I don't think removing any of the food groups is healthy. We've been on this planet for a very long time, man. I think we're capable of eating meat, carbs, protein, fats, all that needs to be in there. People that fat shame, I don't think they quite understand the body. Every freaking cell membrane is a lipid by I forget now what the biolipid membrane, is that what it is? Oh my god, biology days. Basically, you're made out of fat. Every cell has a fat border around it. So to eat low fat makes no freaking sense to me. You're asking for trouble. Your hormones are going to dip. Hormones are fat. So you need fat. You obviously need protein for muscle structure and all that stuff. Carbs, obviously the freaking brain runs on that. I know you can do ketogenesis, you can do keto diets, but to me that's starvation mode. Okay, the body can run on that, but I don't know how healthy that is long term. I get it, fasting is great. Every culture has fasting, inside it somewhere, like Christianity, Islam, we all fast. I think great things happen when you fast. Autophagy, if you guys are familiar with that. Autophagy, like great cancer killing, moments when we go into a big fast. All of that is great. But for the most part, a balanced diet is what I try to do. And certainly, my wife cooks well, based, balanced meals. That's kind of what I do. So I don't do what a lot of fitness YouTubers talk about, where they're like, doing crazy things, man, like 5% body fat. I don't know how healthy that is, man. I really don't. I know he gets, my lord, I know he gets a lot of people, lots of views to be shredded and all that, but I think a lot of us know that bodybuilding is not very healthy, and it seems like top powerlifting isn't healthy either, and top Olympic weightlifting isn't healthy either. So all of our idols are probably the most unhealthy people out there. That's kind of what it seems. Juan Antonio Reyes, do you believe in staying in a pause squat position over 30 seconds with moderate to light weight is ideal to open up your inner thigh, lower back, etc.? Absolutely, man. He goes, thanks Ivan for your squat everyday vids, very uplifting. Appreciate you, man. Really means a lot to hear this from people. I always say it, feel like a broken record, but it really is uplifting for me as well to read this stuff. Yeah, I basically covered that moments ago. It's a freaking great way to get mobility, great way, and I'm probably guilty of not doing that enough. Where are we? Samuel Messino, if you don't squat every day, what is the optimal workout for legs in a week? It depends, man. It depends on everything. It depends on who you are, what you do, in your life and whatever. I guess we could talk about a vacuum, a complete vacuum, like you're in a freaking Olympic weightlifting village, right? Like you are that. If you do that, let's say 3 days a week is probably the most optimal, right? Let's say that. But if I was there, I would probably say 3 hard sessions a week, and I would still get my ass in the gym every single day and practice my lifts, and end up squatting every day anyway. I think literally squatting every day, not hardcore squatting every single day. 3 days a week, go hard as hard as you want. Get your volume in at whatever percentages you're after, and then come in on those off days, active recovery, touch the bar, maybe whatever sport you're in, snatching, deadlifting, whatever you're into. Really low volume, low intensity, that kind of stuff. Oh my goodness. Persistent. Yeah, so that's what I would do. I mean, so for 3 days a week, and if you're a certain individual that doesn't really like spending too much time in the gym, then maybe let's say 3 days a week. But for me, my mentality and who I am and what I like, every day. That's what I would do. Dilshad Sathar says, hey Ivan, thanks for answering our questions. I just wanted to ask you about managing workouts. Oh, we've done that, haven't we? Nutrition, we've done all these, haven't we? Have I answered all of them? Let me have another quick look. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, done that. Yeah, I reckon we're done, fellas. I reckon this is it. So 38-minute video, so it wasn't too bad this time around. Like I said, I'm gonna try and do more of these every week. Like, it's not too much work, like no editing, right? So I can pump these out. How are we gonna do this? I'm not sure. I'm probably gonna upload this to YouTube now. Put it on private. Give you guys the link on what's it called? I forgot the name of the platform we just freaking talked about at the start of the video. So I'll give you guys the link, and you guys can watch this and go from there. I really want to do this for you guys. I always say I'm blessed to have you guys following me along and supporting me on this. I'm a very lucky guy to have you guys. So I hope all of this helped you in some way, sparked your ideas in some way. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.